because obviously there's no one on yet. I'm gonna get I didn't put a notification out. It's just my week on annual leave, and I've been jumping on every morning to go live while I'm just in the fish room pottering around, and people really seem to enjoy the chilled out, laid back chat. So I can't find the fish food. What have we done with it? See, the problem is I've done that much live streaming in the last week since I've been off that I've been moving everything around on the floor everywhere, and I can't. Oh, there it is. Well, is anybody out there? Can anybody hear me? Is there anyone home? Help me fish. 6. I'm seeing so many different behaviours just chilling in the fish room. You know. Oh, look at that. Can you see on top of that? There's no one there. There's one. If you look just on top of that leaf there, there's a cherry shrimp. I don't know where that's come from. I completely emptied the tank, put them all downstairs in the tank below. That's a nice female, that. It's got red legs, red everything. It's got a nice female body on it. I don't know how it's got in there. I'd keep that to line breed, or to breed out, whatever you call it. But yeah, just feeding my fish. Really enjoying these lives. I was on Jeff's live with Ron from Garage Aquatics last night, and we were talking all things Wallstad and dated tanks and planted tanks, and I enjoy Ron because chatting to Ron, because you know he's easy to chat to. He's a nice guy, and I enjoy that. You know, he makes some nice content, and his background is plants. So, hi Craig, good morning. I thought I'd get on live. Everyone seemed to love that live yesterday. There were an absolute ton of views and likes and stuff. So, plus I'm on leave from work at the moment, so it gives me a chance to get on lives and chat to everyone, and you know, everyone who supports the channel. It's nice to actually catch up to people who show the channel loads of support and actually talk to people. For a change, I find getting content out is like a really push, because I'm always pushed for time. So just getting on while I'm in the fish room and chatting away while I'm off work's been a really nice experience. So just give the frontosa some food. The thing I like about this YouTube live as well is the chats there. I find with the likes of StreamYard, when you're on the other style of chat lives, you have to go through the settings to find the chat, and then you can't see what's on the screen. Is it a great time to stream too? That's probably what it is. It's probably a busy time to stream, and like I've had a load of people coming in, and I've had loads of support. And to be honest with you, I find this time streaming, and I find this suits me better, because I like to, like, obviously it's morning for me now, it's like 10 in the morning, so I like to get all my stuff done, and in the evening I like to chill and watch YouTube on the big telly. So, and everyone seems to go live in the evening for me, and they want me to stay on till like 11, 12, 1 in the morning sometimes. That doesn't fit when I've got a young lad who wants to get up at 5 and I'm up live streaming till 1 in the morning. You know, the whole next day's a write-off because of it. It's not really fair on the little fella either. But yeah, I was on was on with Jeff last night with his doing his. We've been doing it the last 2 nights, the dirted tank thing, but it seems to be slow and steady with him. I know Rob. It's like Christmas morning. It must be like Christmas morning for Rob now with his. I don't want to spoil it for him. What he's getting and stuff. But I can't wait to see the what he's ordering today. I can't wait to see them in his fish room. One day I want a fish room like Craig's. It's like absolutely amazing. It's got some of the most beautiful angels I've ever seen. Like grown up. I love that view as well that you put with your fish room from the living room, is it? that looks amazing, that. If I had that view, I wouldn't even need a telly, I wouldn't need anything in the room, I'd just sit and look at that. That's something else there. It's me stuck in a little shed in my garden. It's nice sitting here as well and just watching the behaviour of the fish, because when I sit down and chat, yeah, my arms put doors, look to the tanks. Wow, dude, I'd love to be able to do something like that, you know. In my old house, I had like a big dining room, and that was just full of fish tanks, and then it just had a sofa, and I think I spent about 75% of my time just sat on that sofa, just staring at tanks. My old front Rosewood tank was right in front of the sofa, so I'd just chill there and watch. It was just... It's an amazing experience, isn't it? Just being able to sit somewhere and watch fish. But as I say, sitting here chatting to everyone on the live, I'm getting to see my fish in a different light to how I normally see them, because I'm normally in here doing maintenance or running into feed. There's always an agenda, so to sit down and go live, I can just sit and watch my fish, and I'm seeing completely different behaviours. I think it was it Rainy yesterday who was saying, he was pointing out that you could spot the male frontosa because they were aggressive towards the others. Yeah, I really appreciate any support the channel gets, and YouTube seems to really be pushing my channel at the moment. The last video I put out seems to be doing like 10 times better than usual, and these lives seem to be absolutely flying. But if you say this is a cracking time of day to live stream, like this is the best time of day I could do it, because it's early morning, I've just got all my morning bits and bobs done, and then this is my time where I come out in the fish room, so to be able to just hit live and chat to people makes the experience even better for me. I'd rather do that than in the evening when, you know, the little fella wants to get ready, he's having his tea, he's getting his bath, he's getting ready for bed. So I have to kind of usher him through all that to get on if I want to go live. So that's one of the reasons why I've never set up a regular live in the evening. I've tried it, and plus my working hours, it's just, I work really unsociable shift work, so like I haven't got a chance to do anything regular, and obviously people like familiarity. YouTube likes regular stuff, regular content, so it's virtually impossible for me to do that. But I'd love to be able to do this more often, just sit down and do an informal live stream with people, chatting away in the, because everyone was saying yesterday they were doing stuff in their fish room, and I think that's cool, so people can kind of just put YouTube on and just listen to someone chat about fish while they're doing their maintenance. But I'll be back to reality for me next week. I'll be back in work in the mornings. I won't have a chance to get back on in the mornings for a little while, so I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts, I think. But this tank, I get a lot of compliments over this tank, and we're just kind of sorting it through together. As I say, I tried to record it so I could do like a setup video for it, but the footage was just of me back, so it's a really small space. It's hard to catch your footage, so I ended up just recording me back for about 40 minutes while I was setting the tank up. But it is what it is, you know. I can't. Sometimes these things happen when you're trying to create content, don't they? So. But by the sounds of it, from what a couple of people have said, this colony frontosa looks a little bit male dominant, and so I might add a few more in here. But might have a few more and then hopefully thin the males out and keep saying maybe 2 males and 4 females, something like that. But I think my hobby from now on, these will be like the centerpiece of my hobby. But I do like me African cichlids and my like Tanganyika cichlids. Rob was talking about getting me some of his Bishardi over. I absolutely love them, and I think they get overlooked because of the behaviour of them. Excuse me. I think everyone focuses on the colony behaviour of that fish, where it breeds and protects its young, and then they protect their young. So you end up with this colony of fish where everyone's protecting the young of each generation, but I don't think people actually appreciate how attractive that fish on its own actually is. It's you know, it's got a layer tail, it's got like really nice patterning behind its cheeks on its gill plate, and it's an absolutely stunning fish. And Rob's got the albinos. I've never actually seen the albinos before in other than on photographs and stuff. Another fish I absolutely love is the similar fish is the poacher. It looks exactly the same as the Bishardi, but it's yellow. Absolutely love that fish. I definitely want to get a long-term fish to go in with these, like the Lalupi. Similar, aren't they, to the Julies, but they're like a lemon colour. Well, mine were. You can get them from like a lemon to an orange colour. Any sort of tone between them two. I think mine were quite low quality, but I didn't care. They're really nice fish to watch. And the rainbows in the tank below are really starting to colour up on there. I was wanting to get a spawning mop in here, but I haven't got around to making one yet. I've got one, but it's got no it's got no cork on it. I've got cork in the cupboard. It's cleaning the barbecue, cool. We've got some really nice weather today. It's been the weather's been a bit ruthless the last week. It's been really cold and wet, and it's gone like summer again. And I think tomorrow is, or the day after, is the last official day of summer, and then we're into autumn. But autumn's really you seem to get the really American traditions towards autumn here with Halloween and stuff. It seems the shops are really promoting all that stuff these days in the UK. But I've been looking at this tank, and I've been seeing a lot of diatoms coming on. There's some diatoms on this rock here, and this one. That's a sign that the tank's maturing. And everyone nowadays talks about cycling, and they talk about ammonia, nitrate, but no one ever really talks about what happens in your tank just after that. Like you can see like diatoms, or it could be biofilm growing on the rocks. To me, that's a sign that the tank's maturing. And then on the back wall, you can literally see on the back glass. I don't know if you can with the glare. You can kind of see it, but it kind of looks like a reflection. But about halfway down the tank, you can see algae on the glass, and the top half that you can literally see where my water change line is on the glass. But that's a sign that the tank's mature, and I never clean the back of my tank unless something drastic's going on, because I like to think that that's harbouring all sorts of beneficial stuff that's matured in the tank, and I like to leave it alone and do its own thing. I think it looks, you can kind of tell a lot from what's going on with the back paint, unless you've got black hose and then you just clean it all every day. But in general, I like to leave the back pane of glass. I don't tend to clean it. And hello, Sad Boy Gaming. So I don't tend to clean the back of the glass. As you get more experience in fish keeping, I think it tells you stuff that's going on with your tank. It kind of gives you an idea of what the parameters are doing in your tank and stuff. And I know a lot of goldfish keepers, they like to try and promote a green wall on the back of the tank, and because a lot of goldfish keepers keep theirs bare bottom, so they kind of try and promote a like hair algae on the bottom, so it looks like a carpet, and on the back of the glass, which has a cool appeal. I think it looks a bit like a grass. Plus, goldfish make that much mess. It's nice to be able to clean up after them so easily. I find it's hard keeping a substrate with goldfish. I find it gets dirty really fast, and you're constantly cleaning it up. How's everyone's day going? It's saying there's 13 in chat, so must be at least 12 lurking. Is everyone okay? Is everyone having fun? Is anyone in the fish room doing stuff? I've got a couple of my mates invited me to go down to Wormston Aquatics today, and it was a bit last minute. I'd love to have gone. I know Wormston's in Manchester, it's probably about an hour away from here, but the shop, big fish lad Paul, he's in the shop a lot and does fish shop tours of it. But I know the guy who owns it, Spud, is doing a thing Monday. How many fish do I have? I don't know how many fish I have. Off the top of my head, I've got 6, 10, 22, and then 6 goldfish and 4 plecos, and then a ton of guppies in there. Maybe about 50 adult fish in between about 10 tanks. And then I've got a ton of fry all over the place as well, little babies that I'm growing out and stuff. I think I've got about 30 baby rainbows, to go to river rainbows. But part of my hobby, I like to do a lot of breeding. Plus, I've got probably got about 400 freshwater shrimp as well. Got about 300 reds in this tank, and then probably got about 50 reds in the tank beneath me, about 50 blues, and then 20 yellows I'm growing out to breed. And then I've got 10 green jade I've been breeding. They've had some shrimplets, so quite a lot of fish got. Plus, I think I got 2 fish in the tank that they laid eggs. The parents had laid eggs in another tank, and I took the plants out, set the tank up, and they hatched in that tank. So I've got 2 fish in that tank that I never envisioned having. in that tank. So, but you know, surprise fish is always nice for someone who enjoys keeping fish. I am. Good morning, Crazy for Seahorses, Rainer, isn't it? I always get everyone's name confused with the handles. I noticed Rob calls me Craig a lot and Glenn and Paul, and he calls Craig Keith a lot, I noticed. So it's not just me that gets everyone's handles confused with people's names. Was everyone okay? Is everyone having fun today? What are we doing fish-wise today? Anyone? But that's what I was going to say. A friend's gone to Wormston. He asked me if I wanted anything picking up, and I was tempted to tell him, see if there was any adult bristlenose breeding pairs, and then I thought, I haven't really got anywhere set up I could put them at the moment. So, and another person sent me a picture of these phenomenal Manica Peru angelfish last night, and there's 6 of them, but really expensive. I was really tempted to buy them, but then I'd have to shoehorn them in somewhere that I'd just be pushing my luck. So now you confuse all my handle. Is my old home of the clown tree. Channel, yeah. I remember home of the clown trigger. I remember that handle. There's that many people that I think at the moment there's about 100 channels I'm in contact with regularly, something like that. So did everyone watch excuse me, there's something going on with my throat today. Did everyone watch the live with me, Jeff and Ron last night, and Craig came on and Lottie was on for a bit? Hello, Mike Myers. Everyone's jumping in now. So as I say, I'm on my annual leave and work, and you know, got the little fella ready, took him to school, and my lives yesterday done amazing, like ridiculously well compared to everything I've done before. Like I usually get 10 on. It usually peaks at about 10, and the chat saying there's 26 in chat right now. So my channel is absolutely flying at the moment. So I'm thinking, you know, enjoy a good thing while it lasts. Get on, say hello to everyone while I'm on annual leave, chat away, show everyone off me fish, and just catch up with everyone who supports me channel. Here's the big fella. Morning, Glenn, you okay? Has everyone just had a notification or something just now? Seems everyone's just popped in. You okay, Glenn? I need to get that video done today. It's the first day since the last time we spoke that Jeff hasn't kidnapped me for a live, so in the evening, so I'll have the evening to myself tonight, and I want to get that video done. But I figured out the problem with the microphone. I don't know whether I told you it, Glenn, but I was recording a video the other day, after I'd done your video, and I went to take. Oh right, okay. So I went to pull a jack out of me for the microphone out of me phone, and the connection stayed in the port of my phone, and the whole thing come apart. So it must have been a loose connection. And it first started showing itself when I was doing voiceovers, because I'd noticed I'd record the voiceover and it sounded okay in the editing software. I don't know whether the editing software kind of cancels it out, but once I uploaded it to YouTube, it'd be there, and you could hear me transitioning between the microphone and coming off the microphone. So, and then I don't even think the microphone had the light to say it had power, but I don't think it was recording. I think the recording was coming through my phone, because when I turned around on the video that you sent me, it was, you couldn't hear me when I turned me back, so it must have been the phone recording, which really annoyed me, because it like got everything done and then set everything up to record the video, recorded it, like hit record, recorded myself a bit, went back, checked it, thought it seemed fine, and then recorded and sent you it. It's insane that, like, I know it doesn't sound like much, but I've spent like 100 quid just on microphones to be able to record myself, and none of them do the job properly. One of them's fell apart. One of them, if I put it on in here now, you wouldn't hear me talking. All you'd be able to hear is like water and pumps, and whenever I've recorded audio in there, wow. See, that's the thing. I was looking at I got to a point where I was like, right, okay, my YouTube channel's starting to grow here. Like, I want to start buying stuff to make the stuff better. And then when I was looking at the stuff people were recommending for YouTube, like the microphone was 250 quid, and then a camera was like £1,000 plus, and I thought, I haven't got that kind of dough to be putting into the channel, no matter how much I want to. Yeah, if I do get monetized, which for the first time since I've been on YouTube, I feel like it's starting to get to the point where it's reality now. I probably will hit the point where my channel gets monetized, but for the longest time it didn't feel like I'd ever get anywhere near it. But everything, wow, what's that? Multi just, I think it looks like snail's egg. It looks like it just got snail's eggs from somewhere and spat them in the corner. Yeah, but if I do get to that point, any money that I made from being on YouTube, I'd spend it on making better and better content. Like, I'd like to revamp the fish room, make it look a lot more visually appealing, and get some better recording, and I'd like to get some better software, because I find with my editing software, I'll sit there for absolutely ages editing a video, and it'll be missing like a few, like I'll edit it so it's cut after I finish speaking, and then like the last word will be missing off bits of video and stuff, and it doesn't seem to crop exactly where you want it. I've been using VN, video editing, that's what was recommended to me, but I edit on my phone. I'd love to get a laptop, you know, when you see big content creators talking you through their editing software and stuff, and they have it on a laptop, don't they? Like, I've got a gaming PC, but the software's crashed on it, so it comes up with that Infinity update sign, so I need to get it to a shop. But I'd like to get that, because it's still quite a fast gaming PC. I'd like to get that done. Get a nice camera, get a nice microphone. I'd like to be able to live. I enjoy these, I'm going to upgrade my editing software so I can edit on my phone or PC. IVN, you can edit on your phone, but you have to kind of be aware of the limitations of the software. Like sometimes I'll get 80% through editing a video and it'll crash. The software will just crash, the phone will overheat. It seems to be if I've got a lot going on, like a lot of B-roll and additional audio added, and if there's many layers to the, but if it's just like record, talk, it seems to be alright. Yeah, that's another thing about editing at 4K on VN. The software doesn't seem to be able to handle it. My phone doesn't seem to enjoy processing stuff that much. On my gaming PC, I can run quite modern games with the render quality on very high, ultra high graphics, and there's no lag or anything on the game, so hopefully if I get that fixed. But then, is it worth using that if I'm just recording on a phone? I'd like to get a decent camera, but you know, I'm plodding on with YouTube. I'm not like, long videos and so on. Yeah, I've got I can't remember, it's the GeForce, I can't remember whether it's the 1080 Ti or something like that. Good evening, it's good morning here. Good evening, the fish room. But I do appreciate better quality audio. I've got the is it the Snowball microphone? I find that decent if I'm sat in a quiet room. The audio quality is great, but if there's any fish tank related noises, it picks them up rather than me. And I did have that Lavia mic, or whatever they call Lavia. I completely agree. Wow. Yeah, that is cool. So you're living in the future? Wow. But do you know, right? I don't know how to explain it, because I'll say like I try my best to do and I find other people put so much effort into making their content look as professional as possible, and I honestly think people, from what I've seen, like on my live and other people's lives, I think they prefer like the enthusiasm, the passion, rather than, as long as the audio quality is good. New Zealand, I'd love to go to New Zealand. During lockdown, our country got compared to New Zealand a lot because we're both islands, and people pointing out how well New Zealand dealt with lockdown and COVID and all that, and how badly the UK dealt with it by comparison, because obviously they made the comparisons that they're both islands, and they've got the similar regulations with regards to people moving in and out of the country. So no, I appreciate that. I think everyone got to the point where they thought, well, it's just a matter of time. We're going to have to suffer this before it gets any better. Has anyone got anything exciting aquarium related going on today? I got about an hour ago, got invited to Wormston, and I'd love to have gone, but today's not the right day. I'd have liked to a couple of days heads up so I could speak to Spud, the owner. I think we had COVID last week or the week, no, not the week before. It was the week before that or something. We all had it. I can't remember what week it was. But I think I got it from work, and then I think my missus caught it. You free Saturday to go Whittle? Don't think Whittle's open on Saturday, is it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, I am free. Yeah. Why are you thinking of coming up, Glenn? I never got it. Put my false teeth back in. I never got a lockdown. It's like I was stuck in work during COVID because I was a key worker, as they say. It's funny how all these managers and supervisory people, their jobs aren't actually as important as they like to make out, and they can stay at home and places still run without them. I feel like a lot of people are just doing what they wanted during lockdown anyway, and just carrying on doing what they normally do. They just didn't have to work. But my area definitely didn't seem like a lockdown. But Glenn, did you say you wanted to pop up to go to Whittle on Saturday? I keep thinking Saturday's the 20th, tomorrow's the 20th, Friday. Well, you know, the government weren't exactly abiding by the rules anyway. Good morning, Mr. G. How many G's have we got in the chat? No, Whittle, not enough time. I mean, I didn't know what to do with. I didn't know whether to go to Whittle on Saturday. I assumed Adam would be there. But he's away on holiday, isn't he? I think he said. And then I thought there'd be a couple of other content creators going. But the ones I've spoke to don't seem to be going, so. But it was only the other day Steve invited. I can't talk today. It was only the other day Steve invited me to go in and do that behind the scenes. So, but a lot of the tanks were empty, so it'd be nice to get in there with tanks full and record. So I don't know. Like I don't know what Steve's idea towards the situation is, and well, I would like to get in and record the whole shop while it's full. There is a grand opening of the Whittle Aquatics. The mayor's coming to cut the ribbon and stuff, so which is on Saturday, I think. I'll have to check, but his opening time, I think it was 10 or 10:30, so it must be around there, I'm guessing. But when I've been there, I don't own Whittle Aquatics. I'd love to own. I'd love to own it. Like Steve's living my dream. He's got like an immense fish room, I reckon if Steve put his fish room, just his fish room alone, on YouTube, I think a couple of videos of that. Huh. Good morning, Mr. Fish Spirit. They're coming tomorrow. Oh, mate. I was saying before on the live, I was saying it must be like Christmas Eve for you this morning, or Christmas morning, getting up to all your discus. So how many people seen the live last night with me, Jeff? I always get Glenn and Jeff, the names mixed up. Even though, just because they got one's G and one's J, I always call Glenn Jeff and Jeff Glenn when I'm talking away. But did anyone catch that live with me, Jeff, Ron, Rob was on, and Lottie? Need a Ron t-shirt. We all need a Ron t-shirt in our life. I love chatting to Ron. He's so easy to talk to, and his content's like it just sounds really chilled and like matter of fact. So it's easy to watch. It's not his content's not like he's not forced himself to do it. You can tell he's just enjoying it. You know, like some of the content you watch on YouTube, it just feels like they're going through the motions just to get the motions done, kind of thing. Ron seems to genuinely enjoy himself, doesn't he, with his content and his fish room and playing with plants. And he knows I love lives. Like, definitely my favourite. Didn't buy more fish, bought soil and sand for the pisto tanks. Nice. Oh, I love steak. Steak's my favourite food. Yeah, that's. Do you know what? For years I used to sit in my fish room on my own, and like, I don't want to discredit the hobby where I live, but there wasn't many people I used to interact with. There was Steve, there was another guy, Steve from Whittle Aquatics. There was another guy, and there was a few of us. But then there's like another gang of fish keepers in my local area that I don't know. So they've got a different agenda in the hobby, if you like. So, like, the local area is quite isolated for me. So I spent a lot of time online, and I got to the point where, if you get what I mean, where I was just constantly answering questions for new people, how to set up fish tanks, how to cycle tanks, how to basic care requirements, and I thought, this isn't sporting a mullet. I think mullets are cool. I'd love a mullet. But yeah, I just found, like, after like a year or two of doing that and growing Facebook groups, I thought I want to be interacting with other experienced fish keepers, and that's what got me into doing YouTube. I've always wanted to do YouTube, but like getting on and interacting with other. Hello, good morning, evening, afternoon. Hello, Kim. Yeah, as soon as I could go live, I went live straight away, and I absolutely loved it. There was me. I think my first live done quite well, and then my second one, I hit record and no one came on for about 30 minutes. It turned out the screen was the wrong way round. But yeah. think there was me and Lewis who was in the chat yesterday, and I think it was the Scouscaper. There was 3 of us in the chat just chatting away, but no one came on for about half an hour, and eventually like there was 3 of us chatting away, and I enjoyed that more than I get so many compliments over this tank, and I was embarrassed to show it off at first because I kind of rushed putting it together because I just got a notification. I ordered the Frontosa from the same place. I ordered me Manica Peru Angel, Manica Peru Angels from, and I didn't get a notification for about a month to tell me my fish were coming. And my Frontosa, I ordered them, and like literally, and it does say in the thing that you're ordering fish that have to be ordered in. So I kind of ordered them expecting nothing to hear nothing for a month, and it was like the next day. I wish he'd do, he's big on Instagram, isn't he, Scouscaper? He calls himself the Scouscaper, that's what I should call myself. The Scouscaper, he calls himself the Scouscaper on YouTube, and then Aquascape in Liverpool on Insta, so. But he's like really nice lad. I remember chatting away, and all of a sudden he put something like, "What are you on about, you all?" or something, no messing, taking the mick because I'm from the Whittle. But it was nice to have someone local chat away in like a local, have a bit of local banter, and he's a really nice lad. So, and I'd like Scout Scraper, I called him. But I've been pushing for a few people. I'm not going to say anything in particular, but I've been pushing certain people to get him into the aquascapes. I think that'd be cool for his to build his reputation, and it'd be cool for the people I've asked, and they're considering it. So it'd be nice to see what comes of it. I think it'd be cool, that. You know, just to, because I find or in general, I find if someone on YouTube recommends a shop, people will respond to it better than if the shop kind of self-promotes, so, and vice versa. Scout Scraper. So I need to make a tank and a cabinet, then I can extend my rack around the roof. Nice. Discus tomorrow for Rob. I was, one of the first things I said when I went live before was Rob's doing something really exciting today, and I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to spoil his announcement if he's planning on announcing it anyway, but like, I've been so excited all morning knowing that you were ordering them. New filters here, I've not got the energy to like. Yeah, there's do you know what, guys? It's been playing on my mind all morning, and every time Rob mentions discus, it kind of reminds me. At Tropco at the moment, there's some Manica Peru, and they're absolutely stunning, and I'm dying to buy them. And one, I can't really afford to buy them. Two, I've got nowhere to put them. What I was thinking, I know the light's off on this tank, I was thinking of maybe, I don't know what I'd do, how I'd do it, because I'd like to keep them, but if I move the goldfish on and the guppies and tidied the tank up a bit, I'm toying with the idea of having Manica Peru in that tank. So I need everyone to be a bad influence, and when should I keep I want everyone's opinion. Say either goldfish or Manica Peru in this tank. I need you to be bad influences on me. What would you rather have see me keep in this tank? Manica Peru angelfish or my Sarasa comets? I do have a garden. I have a massive overgrown garden that I need to tidy up and build a massive fish house in. My garden's that big, I could probably build a fish room. So let me just so get the angels and a pond liner. Right, I've lost my train of thought now. So what was I saying? Right, so actually, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. No, I'm going to deal with what I was the the angels and pond liner comment. That's actually solving two birds with one stone, because I can't keep the goldfish in this tank long term. I bought them to get a male. I've got 4 males and 1 female, so I didn't do too bad sexing them, even though they're like still young. But there's definitely 4 males and 1 female, unless it's another male that's not showing any of its male characteristics, like the breeding stars and stuff yet. And it was the youngest one, but I can't keep them in the long term, and I just wanted to get 1 male and then take the rest back to the shop. But then I was like, do you know what, I want to keep them all. Glenn, go and get your go and get your ears lowered, sir. I'll catch you in a bit. But that would solve the problem for me, getting them in a pond, wouldn't it? And it's still warm enough to get them out in the garden before the and it solved a third issue, which is I wanted to breed them, so if they naturally come round in the spring and warm up, they'll breed naturally, and then I could take the bulk of them back to the shop and just keep the eggs and the fry and do all the yolk stuff, and then that'll free this tank up for me Manica Peru, wouldn't it, that I need in my life. Exactly, Rob. That's so it's not just 2 birds with 1 stone, it's 3, isn't it? That's like, if you catch what I'm trying to articulate. But this tank, I've got this tank, I know the light's off on it and it's not a very good visual, and I'm like kind of holding a stand-up full scissors and screwdrivers and Gibri shrimp, dry goods. little plug. But what I was thinking, I've got 2 exactly the same size tanks. I could keep my Manica Peru and my Wabba Mustard in here, and then the other one I could keep me Rio Nane. I want to get a breeding pair of Manica Peru and a breeding pair of Rio Nane in these 2 tanks, and I could keep me peppermints and my Wabba Mustard underneath them, and then once the plecos breed, I could just take the yeah, well, it's still outdoors. It's 22 degrees today, and it's 25 in here at the moment, so there isn't massive disparity on the temperature, so I could easily get them outside. But there's a few little niggly health concerns I've got. This tank or my goldfish tank, or both, or neither. Kim, I get so many compliments on this tank, and kind of threw it together, so this, if I want to be, I wish I had more floor space to move my camera around, but this area here, I kind of, I've got space to zoom out, there we go. I kind of, this is like a 30-second Iwagumi, Well, I'd temperature match the pond, and I'd kind of, if I was to shift them outside, I'd kind of temperature match the pond with the water in the tank, and then I'd do it in the afternoon when the air temperature's at its highest, and then kind of let the water temperature drop into the evening, so it just kind of happened naturally, as if the pond was cooling naturally, and then just let them go from there really. Rob, did you say you get to pick your mix? Pick your mix of discus, or does Gary pick them for you? I'm assuming Gary just picks them. Because otherwise it wouldn't be a mix of discus, would it? Bright in colour as possible. Fair enough. But juveniles tend to be quite dull, don't they? And they have the bars like angelfish. And I noticed Phil's last time I went to see Phil's, they were all like a dull grey juvenile colour, and then with the bars on them, and then they've really coloured up. So some do. One of my online store here also gives you the option to put a comment or request like that when ordering. It worked for me when asking for a female bristleman. I'm itching to get my common bristlenose breeding. I wish you get some colours twice and it's a pair. That'd be brilliant. Don't judge me for this tank. I don't know where all this cloudiness has come from, but it's not as bad as it looks on camera. Like a yellowy, tanniny tinge in reality, and I can see the back of the tank, I can see the valve at the back, but on camera you can't see it. It's just. But I want you to see the colour of this male rainbow in the morning. Look at that. He's coming on. Look at that. Do you see him on the left hand side of the screen or what? They were all grey. I've just changed my internet over, so I'm back. Am I here? Is anybody out there? I've just changed over to my other internet. Look. See him? Awesome. So these ones here, the one at the top is the Waponga red laser, and the tails are starting to yellow up on them. This guy, if I point at him, he'll swim off. Looks bacterial rainbow, so wait. Yeah, but what I found was it was gin clear. The water was absolutely immaculate. It had kind of a yellow hue to it, and then the average temperature in the room went up from like 24 to about 28, all cloudy. But I turned the power up on the power head as well at the same time, so I think it's a combination of things caused bit of a bloom. But as I say, it doesn't look as bad as it does on screen. I can see lily pads and stuff, whereas you can't. I mean, you can just make out lily pads. There he is. You can just see but I can see them clearly. No, it's no sand in the tank. It's gravel. There's a bacterial bloom, but what I find is actually when I get shut of all the duckweed, it clouds up again, and as I let the duckweed build up and get the nutrients out, it kind of clears. The duckweed clears it, and then I remove it all, and it seems to perk up again, bloom. So, but then I worry about letting the duckweed sit on top of the tank too long, because then it just washes out all the light out, and the plants don't get any light. But it's part of maturing a tank, isn't it? So, plus I was feeding it really heavy because the potassium levels in this tank are so high. I've been kind of running the nitrates and phosphates as high as I can sensibly without causing murder in the tank. And I've been keeping the GH and calcium quite high. Let's say I use this I got from Glenn. Is it the Qual Drop? So this is like 3 parts calcium, 1 part magnesium. If I remember rightly, I know that suggests 2 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium, but and then I've been dosing with some of this. I should make some soda ash. Yeah, that's my train of thought, but I feel like if I just let it go, it'll hit a critical mass and burn itself out. And I really want to I don't really want to drown the plants out of light. So from kind of assuming that all that bacteria is going to annihilate KH, so we need to keep an eye on that as well. And it's probably burning a lot of oxygen off as well. So and I could probably just ramp the flow down on and let it do its own thing, but I think it's settle if I turn the flow down. But I enjoy quite a bit of flow in this tank, plus there's a lot of val along the back and stuff, so I appreciate a bit of flow. The only mistake I think I made is putting the lilies. Well, I don't suppose it's really a mistake. What I wanted to do was kind of keep the flow above the lilies, hoping it discourages the lilies from coming up, and just have red plants down here. Yeah. But the problem is I'd be gassing off all the CO2 the dirt's producing, the bacteria, so oxygen displaces it in the water, doesn't it? So I don't really know what to do about it. Kind of toying with a few ideas, and I tend to mull things over, ruminate, or overthink things for a while, and then just react and just deal with stuff. But I think my way of fish keeping nowadays tends to be very 90% planning and 10% execution. So like this tank was thought about a lot before I decided. I was getting fed up with the I was getting bored of having just planted tanks. I wanted something completely different. I know there's plants in here, but they're just in there because I keep planting all my tanks. But I didn't want to, and I didn't want. It was a 5 foot tank, and I kept saying it in all my videos. I'd start the video, and I found the first thing I found myself saying was, "I'm sick of this." And the shrimp weren't doing anything for me in there. So yeah, that's that's the main thing. That the fish, the shrimp are all happy as Larry. So they're not sitting, they're not gasping. The fish aren't gasping for air or anything. So that's if there was anything, if there was any gasping or anything going like that, anything like that going on, I've got spare air, like oxygen stuff, like air pumps and like taps I could get, sponge filter and air stone in there like instantly if I needed to. But they all seem to be happy. I keep saying I want to get a spawning mop in here and see if I can get some rainbow fry out of here. Okay, Rob, take care, see you in a bit. But as I say, I was kind of feeding that heavily with a lot of fish food to try and get the nitrates up, and I'm assuming that it's built up a lot of mold, and then I've kicked that up and the heat's fired the bacteria off, and it's just kind of an unfortunate series of events has led to a bacterial bloom. But there does seem to be quite a bit of humic. There's a yellow tinge to it. It's not. So we kind of look at that mature, dirty tank. Coloration to the water. My old Frontosa tank, I used the Tetra bacteria starter thing, and I put it all in, and then maybe a month or two later, something like that, I had a massive bacterial bloom, and I really didn't enjoy looking at it. It was the only tank I had set up at the time, so your only fish tank to have like brand new fish that you're really excited to get, and then it'd be cloudy to the point you could hardly see the fish. I was doing massive water changes to get the water clearer so I could see the fish and stuff, and that drove me mad. But it's not so bad now. Now I've got a lot of other tanks I can enjoy while this is going through that process. But I've been doing a lot more water changes than regular on that tank, to be honest. I kind of follow Diana Wallstad's recommendation of just doing like 10-20% every week, and then doing like a big 50-60% water change once every few months. But all my other tanks tend to get 1 or 2 big 50% water changes a week, so but does anyone set tanks up, and like when they set the tanks up, it's not so much now, it's the long term aim at the tank. So like I'm not really focused on what this tank looks like now, it's more what it's going to look like in the long term. That's the interesting thing to me. Like I'm looking forward to maybe 6-12 months time when the front hose are a bit bigger, and then maybe Maybe I'll have shifted these into another tank by then. Hopefully after breeding. And I can never get these on a good. But I'd like to get these in their own tank eventually and get them breeding, and I'd like to get something that the frontosa can grow up with long term then in this tank, something that they won't. Like, if I'm honest, my heart set on getting the lupi in here eventually and then growing them out. I've never bred is it Neolampologus or Lampologus Lalupi? I've never bred them. I've kept them, never bred them, and it's a fish I'd enjoy breeding, and they're kind of similar fish to Rob's Julie, the Chromis transcripts. Well, I say long term, like, I want to breed the frontosa, could have a go breeding the lupi. These I've never kept these before. I've always wanted these. My tanks are not that nice to look at. Just come in the stable and produce a ton of copepods. My mandarin and baby seal. Do you know, that's a part of the hobby that I miss. You know, that gauging your saltwater tank on the likes of copepods, amphipods and stuff like that. And I had the little mandarin, not the blue one, the other one. I can't remember. You know, the greyish, the grey looking one with the pattern on. But an absolutely stunning fish to watch the behaviour of them swimming around your tank, looking around the rock for little bits of copepod and amphipod to pick on. LSD, mandarin, dragonnet, that's it, yeah. It must be 10 years since I had one of them fish, but it was a stunning little fish. And everyone who used to come and buy coddle frags off me had begged me to sell me that fish, and in the end some guy twisted me arm too hard and I ended up letting it go, and I kind of regret that now, to be honest, because it was a stunning little fish and it had its own unique behaviour in the tank. It scooped round the live rock, picking away at it. Yeah, I think mine was an adult or almost an adult when I got it, so. But I think he kind of turned up to my house with a load of rare zoanthids, an 80-litre fish tank, and all sorts of stuff that he was willing to trade with me for this fish. He pestered me, and it wasn't a fish that the local reef shops seemed to get in all that often. I mean, the main fish they used to bring in is like yellow tang, regal tang, clownfish, and then now and again they get a few different tangs in, but apart from that there wasn't. Oh yeah, and damsels. There's a lot of damsels. I got a pair of the blue dragonets, but the red morph. Did they breed? I've never really thought about breeding marine fish. It's never really crossed my mind to breed marine fish. But I suppose it would be amazing to breed them. I know there was a bloke. There was a bloke over the water in Liverpool who built a massive fish house, got a load of small tanks, and he was aiming to breed different types of clowns. He bought tomato clowns that they're called over here. I'm not sure what they're called everywhere else. Don't know whether they everywhere calls them tomato clowns, but he had a pair of them, pair of Picassos. Hatching is the problem. But I remember him saying with his clowns that he'd have to cover the tank and hide it from light. Did you have to stop them from seeing light when they were fry? That's what he told me, is you have to black the tank out and stuff so they can't see any light, otherwise they swim for it. View message. Yeah, I think I know the moderators handled that. My friend had, is it did they call it the bumblebee damsel? Like the little black and white thing, I think it was. He had a couple of them in his tank, and he said he was just doing his maintenance one day, and the next thing he just felt this sharp pain in his hand, and this damsel had bit him, and he went straight in the bucket to the fish shop. I got a light out curtain over the tank. That's what he was saying to me. You'd have to do. I didn't really know that you'd have to do that. But I remember he used to have these tanks absolutely packed with baby clownfish in, and it was an absolutely stunning visual, appearing seeing like 100 baby clownfish in a tank. But he said he couldn't get much for them compared to how much you'd be expected to pay in the shop. I think at the time a clownfish was about 15 quid in the shop, and I think the local shops were only willing to pay about £1 for them. A whole tank. And these two definitely interest me. This little one at the end of the rock there, and the guy swimming at the top, not the guy at the back. Him there who's gone to see him off. They look like a pair, look like they've paired off, so hopefully there's some eggs in them shells there. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing like a little cloud of fry soon, anytime soon. They've only been in there maybe a week top, so every time I stand up, move, the big one swims straight over to that shell, so I haven't managed to see if there's anything going on behind that. Because it looks like there's another pair behind the rock structure, guarding the shell. But the big one does seem to be a lot more protective over that shell than he was. Oh, these two. Actually, let me show you this. This is, if I can get it. These two seem to be over this shell here this morning. They've dug a pit there, and there's two shells there, and they seem to be really protective over this, the closest shell to us. So I'm hoping that's a good sign. But yeah, let's. Yeah, I think that was his. I think he just wanted to breed them for the passion of the experience and his enjoyment, because he had a lot of clownfish, and don't think his goal was for profit, but even then I still think he was disappointed with what he was offered. So this tank is, the light's off on it at the moment, but this got me honeycomb bristle nose in, and and then obviously I got my peppermint, but I ordered some rapashi. I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to. I think I've got somewhere knocking around, but it's the goldfish. Yeah. Well, if I'm honest, I find breeding for profit, especially like in the UK. I think anything. I don't think there is any sort of fish that you can breed for a genuine profit. I think by the time you account heating and electricity and stuff, I think that well sees off any chance of making a profit. Even with the likes of angels, I know, and like discus, I think people think, oh, if I breed discus, like I'll get good money for them, but when people buy discus, they don't want many, do they, at a time, and there isn't many people. It's easy to kind of flood the market with discus. Cheers, Mr. CO 1978, buddy. That's a bit of a odd one to say. I absolutely love shelled wool. I've always wanted these. I remember seeing them on Joey Mullen's channel maybe 10 years ago now in his little bookcase tank, and just watching the behaviours of them just fascinated me, and I wanted them ever since, and I ended up with Telmatochromis, but I always wanted these. I can't remember whether he had, with Joey Mullen, had Maltese or Similis, but they're a similar looking fish, aren't they? So but I wanted to try these ones, and now I've got them. There was the two big ones in this tank. They were in my local fish shop, so I bought these two and then ordered 4 more online so I could hopefully get some fresh genetics and get some breeding going. And since I got them, a couple of the local shops have shown an interest in them, so they've said if I get them breeding, which hopefully should just be a matter of time, they said they'd be interested in taking some off me, but I don't know how big the market is. Yeah, that's cool. That's I think there's a local breeder to me who runs his fish room off solar and rainwater. It's the only fish room I've ever seen built where he had to hire a crane to build his fish house. It's a different scale of project, is so. But a lot of the solar stuff I've seen, it doesn't necessarily, like, it's producing electricity in a day when everyone's in work, and it's just putting the electricity back into the national grid. So there isn't many of the ones I've seen where it stores it in a battery for you. I think they're becoming a bit more popular now, but at first it just kind of, the national grid wanted you to produce electricity while you're in work, and then would sell it back to you. And then, yeah, the battery boxes are getting a bit more popular now. But back when I was looking at it, yeah. But it would be great to be able to store the electricity and then use it, because from looking at my meters and stuff, when the lights are on and the house tends to be warmer in the day, and it seems to be warmer of a day, I find it doesn't use as much electricity, especially in the winter when it gets expensive. Yeah. But I find overnight the temperature drops, especially in the winter, and that's when you're smashing the electricity more than anything. But I found the main thing with it was the government sort of were pushing the ones that were producing electricity during the day while you're in work, and they pay you for it, and then the electricity you're producing, and then obviously people get home from work in the evening when it's dark, and then running the lights then. So it's and all the kids get home from school and want to put the computer games on and stuff. So then you're buying the electric, aren't you? So is it? But I would be tempted to run a fish room on a battery operated solar power, especially if it could keep up with the energy demands of the fish room and then make it free, because my biggest expense in fish keeping is definitely heating fish tanks. But it's nowhere near the cost some people are paying to heat their fish rooms. I spoke to some people who are paying like 3 times as much as me to heat their fish rooms, but mine's only a small fish room, to be fair, and it's mostly display tanks, isn't it? But I do want to get into breeding, but I just need more space to start breeding more than anything. That's it, yeah. I mean, where I am, I don't think I've ever suffered a power cut in my whole life, so. But there is always that one time, isn't there? But at the moment, I'm in a place in the hobby where most of the stuff I'm doing is growing stuff out, so that's why I'm kind of considering, do I get me Manica Peru Angels now? Because ideally in 12 months I'd like to be breeding Manica Peru, Rio Nane, maybe checkerboard discus, a few different strains of bristlenose, and then I'd like to be breeding, obviously, well, I'd like to be breeding a few different strains of rainbows and grow my frontosa out to get somewhere near them. And then the shellies I've got ready, hopefully they'll be breeding soon. And then I've got my Geophagus, they call him. You see him just bring that the snail out of his cave, spit it over here. I love that behaviour in shellies, the way they'll get a shell and spit it. That looks like snail eggs, it's just spat out. I love the way they clean it. I love the way they'll find snail eggs or a shell or something, a little snail, and they'll just kind of pick it up and spit it across the tank. They are really intelligent, aren't they, cichlids, compared to a lot of other fish. You see some really well thought out behaviours compared to other fish. But yeah, those fish. I'm growing out most of them fish now, and then my geos, and then I'd like to have a breeding pair of checkerboards. And then I feel like that kind of do me hobby wise. Yeah. With me, I tend to board. Oh yeah, I didn't mention me. My goldfish. That's something I need to tick off my list. Breeding goldfish. Once I've done it, maybe that'll scratch the itch I've always had with goldfish, and then that'll be an end to that chapter in my life. It's finding a lot of fish food that I fed last night. I think I fed quite a bit of glassworm last night. Thinking it was, if I'm completely honest, I thought it was that brine shrimp with garlic. And I literally done it, grabbed something out the freezer, like frozen food out the freezer, and popped frozen food in all the tank. Oh, the koi, I tell you the story. I built a pond. I built a pond. It cost me a fortune to build this pond. I think it was like well over £1,000 to build this pond. So I built it, went to shop, and was like, "Can I have half a dozen koi, please?" And he was like, "How big's your pond?" I told him the dimensions of it and he said it's not big enough. So I was like, okay. He said you can grow koi out, but it's not big enough to house them for. So I was like, okay. So I bought goldfish bread, kept them in there, and thought, right, I want a koi pond. So I smashed one pond up, built this one that was like well bigger. That's like someone had told me how big a pond you need for koi. So I built that pond and it was like 4 foot by like 12 foot by 8 foot. And I went back to the koi shop in my area and said, can I have a 6 koi? And he said, how big's your pond? And I told him the dimensions and he said, that's not big enough. It's big enough for growing out. And then it just dawned on me now, is he saying that so people rock up constantly with that old koi to sell them cheap so we can make a profit off them? Because every time I built a koi pond I was told it wasn't big enough. But the ponds I built were bigger than any ponds I've seen people keeping koi in. One was 6 foot deep because it wants to get right down into the ground now, hopefully keeping the pond a bit warmer using the thermal energy. I have a 15,000 litre pond for a pair and had an indoor 5,000. Yeah, well, I think the pond I built, it's gone now, it's been knocked down. I think that was similar to Joey Mullen's indoor pond. But doesn't he say he's like 2,000 gallon? Fishy and Tank Ticks, good morning. That was a tongue twister. In my head, I pronounce that Fishy and Tonics. Fishy and Tonics, I've always pronounced it in my head, and it's not that, is it? So. Yeah, well, the guy in because there's 4 fish shops around me, and then there's a big place probably about half an hour's drive away from me, which is always, but they sell koi and like they specialise in selling koi and pond fish. But then they've got like a big indoor section of goldfish. I sold the Japanese pair I have and keep breeding my line. That's a good idea. I think a lot of breeders do that, don't they, with all different types of fish. I think they kind of get it's not right here in Malaysia. Now it's 7 PM though, Malaysia is where you're already morning there. Are you ahead of us in Malaysia or behind us? Time wise? I missed my old home, that's burned 4 years ago. Do you mean it's I feel like every little while YouTube keeps coming. Is this that killifish? No, this is Lake Tanganyika shell dwellers, multifasciatus. Is it Lampologus or near Lampologus? I think you have the shit swap. Can't talk. Sounds like I've got my false teeth coming out. These are shell dwellers, I think. I don't know whether I've already said that, but yeah. So just if anyone's in the chat thinking what's going on here, so just like I'm on holiday from work and I wanted to pop on and just chat away to everyone who subscribes to the channel and stuff, and people seem to really appreciate it. The lives I've been doing this on, rather than getting guests on, these lives seem to do 10 times better than me going through the stress of begging people to come on my lives and writing questions out for them and all that. Like these seem to fly, these lives, by comparison. And then I've got My frontosa, these get to 12 inches as adults ish. Well, the males do. These are a basically a predatorial fish from Lake Tanganyika. So these get, I've heard them be defined as a raptorial predator because they kind of, in Lake Tanganyika, they'll sit in the deep water, is the way I've had it explained to me. They'll sit underneath, and then at certain times of the day where the depths are dark and it's bright above them, they'll get like sardine cichlids and stuff above them, and the sardines won't be able to see the frontosa beneath them, and the frontosa will shoot up from the depths. I'm just scared them doing that. They'll shoot up from the deep water, grab something and take it back down. So I've heard them defined as a raptorial predator for that, because of that behaviour. And to be honest, yeah, I think that's why they like caves and stuff in the fish tank, isn't it? I tend to find that they'll find a shadow and linger in it, like this one here. See, he's got like dug himself a little cave all here and hangs out in it. Another one hangs out in that little gap in the plants. It's quite steep. Yeah, I posted if I'm honest, I posted a YouTube video on someone diving in Lake Tanganyika. They don't really like light. That's interesting. I think if they don't like light, I wouldn't mind turning the light down for them a bit. Like, my tanks are mainly to cater for the fish's needs more than aesthetics. I find I've got a real bad bugbear for the people set up, like, I don't know, say people set up a blackwater tank and then put a fish in that wouldn't necessarily appreciate a blackwater tank. That kind of niggles at me. And then also if, you know, that like if someone gets discus and they're like, oh, they'll be fine in tap water, and you're like, well, why don't you just put some botanicals in there and let the pH drop naturally? That kind of itches at me a bit. And then cichlids, like African cichlids in tap water, and you're like, well, your tap water's quite soft. Can't you just put some rock in there or something that'll buffer it up? You know, it's not a massively complex process. But that's I always try and put the needs of my fish before ahead of anything aesthetic. That's what's the fun. I just don't like the glare on this shot. I do like showing these fish off. I wonder if I can get a better angle where it's. This one at the front seems really stressed. He seems to lose his bars a lot. The one at the back over there, you just see him in the glare. Seems to be really coloured up, and he seems to go black every now and again. Oh, hair that. And then this one at the back of the rock, that seems to be a nice colour, that one. I'm hoping to start seeing a bit more of. I found with my old colony, the males, I found the ones I assume were the females seem to have a crisper white colour. That window front here is killing me. Yeah. And when I do finally get to building a fish room, there won't be any I'll black everything out so there's no reflection, and there'll be no windows or any natural light. I want it to be like, I know, I'll use the term gallery, and I'll define what I mean. I want it to be like a gallery in the sense that I'll just design the room so I can show off the tanks without there being glare and stuff like that. So it's kind of like capturing good footage is one of the things I'll focus on when I'll focus on that while I'm building the room. Ways of keeping glare down and stuff like that, because it's hard because you need a lot of light, don't you, to capture some footage, but then light on glass creates glare, so it's getting it right, getting the light inside coming out rather than outside going in stuff. I don't need windows in the fish room as long as I can get a fan. Yeah, I'd just like my fish room to be more about the drawing air out. Yeah, I'm not really massive. I don't really, as long as I can see my fish and get good footage of my fish, that's the only type of light I need. But then you just raised a valid point there with regards to light. When you're saying the front toes don't like bright light, I don't think many of my fish seem to appreciate bright light. The rainbows don't seem to, well, the Bosmoni rainbow don't seem to be fussed too much by the light, but the Waponga seem to sit in a corner when the light's on, and then once the light goes off they seem to be far more active and stuff. But hopefully, because this tank's a bit deeper than the last one they were in, I hope it makes them feel a bit more secure and colour up a bit more. Coin goldfish like sunlight. Oh yeah. And I'm not too sure with koi, but goldfish look so much better when they've been in the sun for a little while. The reds on them like completely change. And I've had people say to me a lot on lives and in the comment section of some of my videos, what's the best way to get goldfish to colour up? Well, what's the best food to feed them? And I always say, well, you can try, I can never pronounce it, astantaxin. You can try that, but sun will do far more for goldfish's colour than food, in my opinion. Obviously, genetics plays a big part in it, doesn't it? If the goldfish hasn't got the genetics to have nice colour, then the sun's not going to bring that colour out. The sun's only going to what can the food? The food can damage the liver. Oh yeah. I tend to feed it like I'll feed a growth food, mainly like a high protein food a lot, and then every now and again I'll throw like a colour enhancing food in, and only I find a lot of goldfish keepers hammer their fish with colour enhancing foods. And in my opinion it'd be better to get them out in the sun, especially in the summer. I personally don't think you can beat with the carp type species. I I think you can't beat getting them outside in some in a pond. Seeing the likes of a goldfish in a massive water volume in the summer with loads of sunlight on them, I don't think you can beat that view with goldfish. I know I've got a lot in a small tank, but that's a temporary measure so I can start playing with them. And I don't feel like I get shouted at enough for that, if I'm honest. For keeping so many goldfish in a small space, because ideally, for my recommendation, with a short body like a Ranchu or an Aranda, I think you could get 2 in here, like a male and female maybe. But for a long body in a tank that big, I think you should only be keeping 1 in there long term. But obviously I'm doing it short term. But I've not mentioned that, but like I feel like more people should be shouting at me saying they shouldn't be in there long term. Wow. There's a Ranchu breeder in the UK, and what he does is he'll steam eggs. He'll get some eggs, he'll scramble them up, he'll put them in a bowl, and then he'll steam the bowl over a pan, and he'll add it to that. So like the steamed eggs look like almost like a peach, orangey, reddy colour, and then he'll feed that to his goldfish while he's growing them out. Bright. I fed my man a Caprua had a lot of pellets with that stuff in, and when I first started, when I got them, they just looked like zebras. Egg or good fry food. Yeah, he used to feed them egg yolk. He feeds his fry egg yolk, and then when they get big enough, he poaches, steam poaches. I don't know how you define it. It's steam poaching, like scrambled egg, and feeds that to his goldfish with the colour enhancer. He puts like spirulina powder in as well and stuff. So we get. So when I first found him, I was like, how come you're feeding like orangey red scrambled egg and green scrambled egg to your goldfish? And he explained, but this guy knows so much about fish nutrition that I never knew about. He tells you a lot. Like he was saying to me, like he orders premium ground baits for fishing. He's probably about 100 miles south of me. I read a lot of older books about breeding fish where no prepared food. No, it's like I've got the likes of like first bites and stuff sat on my shelf. Now that wouldn't have happened years ago, would it? So, and here's one for you. I feed this Saki Hikari fancy goldfish food. I feed that to the goldfish, and I find 10 years ago when I said I was feeding it, everyone was like, "Oh, that's the best food you can feed." And I find people say, "Oh, it's all right," like like hardcore goldfish enthusiasts. I finally say, "Oh, it's all right," but and then recommend something else. Well, I was told about this stuff 10 years ago, and everyone was raving about it 10 years ago. And now it's gone from like being the bee's knees to being all right. Which makes me think, like the likes of maybe fish nutrition's moved on since then. But I know that guy, he was talking about feeding premium fish meals to his fish, and he was ordering like salmon fish meal, and there was a few other. I feed cat food. What's that? Sorry. for raising carp. Do you keep it like the likes of common carp, stuff like that, do you? I know. There's a guy near me who he was absolutely obsessed with fishing, and his whole fish keeping hobby, he just keeps carp, like common carp and crucian carp. There's a lot of people in the background on this chat. There's like 17. It's saying it jumps up, it keeps jumping up and down. So if anyone's got any fish keeping related questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Yeah, it's good food, got a lot of science in it for food production. Yeah, the guy I was telling you about, who was talking about these premium fish meals, he said check out, I probably told you this before, he said check out AA Baits. Now he's like 100 miles south of me, maybe 150. So I googled this AA Baits, and I can literally walk out my house around the corner. Hi Rebecca, good morning, afternoon is it now? Been going for about 2 hours. Yeah, I was chatting away to Rebecca on there, or was chatting away in general with a couple of people, but on Rob's chat last night, and we just started to talk about wood with plecos. I'm not sure whether I don't like. I'm not saying how to explain. I don't know whether do plecos need wood in the diet. I don't know whether it's something they need or. But it piqued my interest. We were talking about different woods. Like I mentioned, I had field maple in my tank. Plecos don't need wood in their diet at all. Okay. I was wondering about that. I was wondering like what from my understanding of wood, it's just basically like a dead layer of, it's like the equivalent of us having a layer of dead skin. We can't digest it nor use it for digesting. I just like it for hiding spaces. There was lots of research into the topic. Yeah, I'm not very clued up on it, to be honest. But I was wondering what is there in wood that would be nutritionally good for it, and the only thing I was thinking is like maybe like microalgae and stuff or something like that in there. Well, I don't think those stuff that grows on it. Yeah, I was thinking maybe, you know, that'd give them an evolutionary advantage if they were rasping to get the what's actually on the wood rather than the wood itself, because as far as I'm aware there isn't really anything, lignins maybe, and I don't know, like, but there isn't really anything that I could think of that an animal would benefit from really from wood, because the equivalent of all dead skin really, isn't it? Like bark, and then I mean the phloem would be gone, wouldn't it? Is it the phloem? Okay, that's interesting. Like I say, my experience of bristlenose plecos was I set this tank up I wanted to do like breeding shrimp for profit, see if I could do it. And I see Mark's shrimp tank ones. I talk about this all the time, I think, and he said plecos, so I got plecos. I just got some commons, and then I got to the point where I was like, right, I'm sick of looking at this tank. It's just another planted tank. The plants don't look great. But the one thing I really did appreciate in there was the plecos, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, it was kind of an ironic turn of events. I'd got the plecos for the shrimp, and then realised I enjoyed the plecos more than the shrimp. So, but then I'm a fish keeper, and I like fish that I've got a certain size body mass. Like, so to see the adults, I found the adult male. I don't even know whether they're adults, but they're a lot bigger than I've ever seen bristlenose get to. So, like the body size and the behaviour, like I'm really interested in fish behaviours. Pleco's only tank is also a nice. What I was saying on the chat last night, I wouldn't mind some, like I've got me honeycomb and me peppermints, and I'd enjoy them in a tank on their own. I think, like part of me at first was thinking to keep angels above them. But I'd like to keep them in an environment they'd enjoy breeding in, and you know, I always feel like to master keeping a fish sounds like they are really healthy if getting larger than you expect. Yeah, I hope so. But I don't think I've ever experienced, maybe because I've got like these goldfish here, like the one I've had for 12 months, people wouldn't believe a goldfish. A lot of people in the hobby wouldn't believe goldfish get that big, and I'm expecting that to live for years yet, so it'll be interesting to see how big that fish gets. But take that back to what I'm saying, like I wouldn't know how big an adult pleco would get to, bristlenose would get to. But it'll be interesting to see how big it gets. 30 centimetres plus, yeah. Well, my logic is it's a crucian carp, so genetically shouldn't it get a similar size to a crucian carp? That's my that's my logic behind it. The common bristlenose should be a good size, 10 to 15 centimetres. Just seems recently they're getting stunted. Stores often only have them about 10 centimetres. And as for the large ones, yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I went in and asked my shop for 3. I asked for, was it a male or 2 males and a females, I think they suggested, or a male and 2 females. I can't remember what they suggested, but we had a look and we picked 1 with bristles and 2 without. And the 2 without bristles both got them, but what I'm trying to get to is one of them looked really short compared to the other 2, but like really wide. And I was like really embarrassed with myself, thinking if I stunted that fish, it just looked really wide compared to. I was thinking the tail should be a good few inches longer than it was. There are examples of 20 centimetre common bristlenoses. I remember the thread where people were showing their largest ones. I think the bristlenose, like, I love the super red, I love the calico. The calico didn't really appeal to me at first until I found out it was like, well, I'd seen someone talking and they were saying like the body's like, the base of the colour is a super red and the top is like a common, kind of a mix between the 2 colours, them 2 patterns. And that really interested me. I like wild type fish, really. Depends where they got collected. It seems that either the fancy ones are either smaller or had theirs long enough. Yeah. So my peppermints I've been worried about since I got them, because I got them and they were maybe the size of my thumb at most when I got them, and I think they're about double that size now. But I was thinking, are these stunted? You know. And then I came across people mentioning stunted like bristlenose, and then it started playing on my mind and playing on my mind. No one knows where the common bristlenose originates, or the original species. There are DNA sequences, but it's not matching anything. Wow. I thought like they were a wild fish, the common bristlenose. But my L181 peppermint, I got them out of one tank the other day. Some plants just get wider, I can imagine. This one's really thick compared to its length. It looks nearly as wide as it is long, so that kind of worried me. But I'm sure as I get more experience with them, I'll learn far more about them. But that was for me the start of it. It was that the growing them out with me cherry shrimp, and thought, wow, these fish are actually really impressive. And I noticed the male went from having one bristle on the end of his nose to it kind of forked, and it's really big now. It's really interesting. There are similar species that get wild exports, but due to the price, I'm not sure many would hybridise them. Yeah. I can imagine the next 12 months, maybe 2 years of my hobby, I'm going to get a lot more involved with them. I'm kind of trying to rein myself back from wanting to get every different type of bristlenose there is at the moment. I like the green dragons, maybe I'm the super reds, but I'm not really a fan of colours that have been bred for the sake of having that colour anymore. But I definitely need to research and understand the background of the fish a bit more. Because I've never been a fan of albino fish. It's something that's never really appealed to me. I think the first albino fish I ever really saw was Lake Malawi cichlids, and they never really appealed to me. And then other species of albino fish I've seen, they've never really appealed to me either. A lot of normal black ones. See, my local fish shop, Andy's Aquatics in New Ferry, there always seems to be an absolute ton of baby common bristlenose in there, but nothing that catch my eye. I just see tons of them in all the tanks. And I was talking to Steve from Whittle Aquatics, and he was saying that a customer was offering him commons, and I don't know if it's the same person, to be honest, but there are albino green dragons, and only they are sold as pineapple, I think, still only in the US. But I was researching the white ones, and something that caught my attention was, as I was saying about my peppermints. So I moved them tank, and they went great, and I really panicked. And then I read it's like a camouflage technique. Little hand stores, hundreds of common albino bristlenose fry. So I read it was a camouflage technique, and then that interested me then, because like I was thinking, so what's happening in the skin for them to be able to do that with the colour? I know frontosa change the colour readily, so the patterning on the side, so that's would you define it as a behaviour? I suppose everything animals do could be defined as a behaviour. Sleeping's a behaviour, feeding's a behaviour, isn't it? So I suppose you could define everything an animal does as a behaviour, maybe. all loricate change their colour in response to stress. Yeah, so it's the blending. Yeah, so that's what interests me. So I thought of all these colour strains come from that camouflaging technique, or that ability to be able to change colour. That piqued my curiosity, and then I thought, is that where all these different strains have come from? So has that like colour been more has it been more like apparent in a certain fish and they've line bred from that colour? Because that appeals to me more than like than people do, you know, like also chronic concurrent colour change, which the fish just turns gold, usually short term. Chronic concurrent colour change. Right, okay. I've noticed my biggest bristlenose since he's been in the tank in the living room. He seems to go like a mustard colour a lot. Oh, bright. White. In deep water, but lose that when fished out for the aquarium. My female's plumped right up lately, and I'm noticing different behaviours from the different males since she's like, I don't know whether that's a sign that she's getting to an age where she's ready to breed. I've got a lot to learn, but I will learn it. I'll probably hyper focus on it, and then what I tend to do in the hobby is I'll get interested in a topic and I'll find the people who genuinely know what they're talking about with that. They've got the experience and the background to understand it, and then I'll tend to go towards them, kind of like with data tanks and the Wallstar method. Like, I've had a look at a lot of stuff, and then I've read the book. I've read like the 3rd edition and the 4th, and I was like, okay, so this is the science behind it. I know we could all go and get the papers and start looking at ANOVAs and regressions and saying, well, is that data saying that? And we could pull it apart. But to me, what I'm saying is she's done the research, so like I tend to go for her opinion over stuff, and then if people just say stuff for the sake of saying it, and then I tend to move away from that. I've got a scientific mind, so I tend to look for people that I know, rather than just watching YouTube video after YouTube video. I'll find people that I feel like I'll look at their experience and say, right, they've got the experience, I should be listening to them, and that's what I tend to do. So, and that's probably what I'm going to do with the bristlenose at the moment, is kind of say, right, so I need to learn more about these, so I'll kind of start paying attention to the people who are interested in and I've got real experience with that type of fish. That's probably my next hyper focus, maybe, for the want of a better term. But like, I tend to find that a lot of people wouldn't know what an ANOVA or other regressionist analysis are. And I think that's part of my problem, Rebecca, is like when I was reading commercial fish breeders, trout and carp, yeah, and that was one of my strong points, to be honest. I had a mini Viva when I was doing my masters. I wrote a paper, and I had to go and see. I was big on the stats side of things, and I'd done I'd done an ANOVA, and then I found data, and I'd only discussed with my supervisors to do an ANOVA on the analysis, but then I was like, there's something here, so I ran a Bonferroni correction, I think it was, or I'd done it anyway to correct for the analyses I'd done, because I'd done more analyses on that, and then thought there's something there, run a regression, and found like there was stuff there. I've had that as well. They they wanted they asked me for the psychophysical data, or they asked me for a calculation to explain the psychophysical data of my analysis, and that blew my mind. But I run this regression, and I had to go in and defend it in this mini Viva. And I went in with a biomedical science she was like really heavy on the biological side of things, and I think a lot of research was basically photographed evidence rather than. But I went in, done this Viva, and at the end of it, I finished, and she said, "Your understanding of statistics is far beyond mine. I just don't know what. Can you come and work in my lab?" And I was like, "But I don't understand what you're doing, so I don't understand your background." So I couldn't apply this level of knowledge or analysis to something I don't understand. And it was hard because I went from a neuroscience and psychology background. I went from that to biomedical science, and a lot of their stuff was like sequencing and stuff, and I didn't have the background to understand any of that. Mine was more obviously inferential statistics was my background, and I developed that during my masters as well. I was collecting that much data. I'd run the analysis. A lot of biologists still don't use much statistics or coding. No. Well, that's the irony. It was like I used to have a lot of doctors in medicine turning their nose up at me because I was, in quotes, a psychologist, and that's not a real science, I'd be told. And then when I'd show them some of my, I was running ANOVAs that big. We had a Mac in our lab, and I collected that much data for this multi-sensory integration, the EEG data and stuff. I'd collected that many data points that we had to start the Mac on the Friday running the analysis. I think it was like 20,000 points of data for each, or 60,000 for each participant. And it was like the Mac run till the Sunday afternoon analysing the data. But what I was saying is, I was getting mocked for being a psychologist, and my first day in the lab, my supervisor said to me, "Right, you need to go away and teach yourself MATLAB. You need to teach yourself this programming code." And I was like, "Well, that's not happening." I was only with her for 10 weeks, and she wanted me to learn MATLAB and then start writing codes for the programs we were going to run the analysis. And I thought that this isn't happening in 10 weeks, especially when I've got 4 hours of lectures a week and an essay to write. We had what are they called? The chambers, the sensory deprivation chambers. I can't remember the name of them. But we had one of them in the lab, so we had a kill switch for the lab. And so many times I've set up a computer in the lab to run. Yeah, MATLAB was. I had a Spectrum, and I used to like writing code on my Spectrum, and it was all really helpful. But then when I got to university and they put MATLAB, and there was just a blank screen, and I didn't know what to do or anything. I had to kind of wrote a PhD. We all use R and Python. Oh, right, okay. But I'll tell you what bugged me more than anything was the University of Liverpool, right opposite my lecture theatre was the biology department, and the marine biology lab was right over the road from my lecture theatre, and it always I'd already done 2 years in my degree by the time I got to the University of Liverpool, so it was done me year 0 and year 1 in a college, and then done me year 2 and 3 at Liverpool. and then done my masters at Liverpool. So it bugged me that I thought to myself, why have I never done marine biology? I'm so obsessed with a healthy obsession, as a psychologist would say. I was I had a healthy obsession with symbiotic relationships. I suppose that's why the Wallstad method appeals to me, is because of the relationship between bacteria, fish, um, arguably archaea myceliums, plants. That fascinates me. That like anthropology to paleontology. That's interesting. I wish I'd done that now. I remember sitting in a pub telling a couple of the lads that sociology didn't appeal to me and biology was, and like I went on a little bit of a drunken rant to them, and they gave me a pat on the back and said you should definitely be considering changing to biology. But it's like the relationship with like clownfish and enemies like really fascinates me. Animal behaviour though, everyone I know, loads of people who do it, and it's just watching hundreds of hours of footage. Yeah. And the first thing I had to do, in fact, in my master's degree, was a government animal care and research course. I'm assuming you've had to do the same yourself. I've done that course, and they had what similar to the towers they use for fighting to hold fighting fish in shops. They had like a similar setup for with the zebra danio or leopard danio, something like that. They had hundreds of them in the lab, and we had to go in and do animal handling and research, where we had to handle a mouse, a rat, and a rabbit, I think it was. No animal husbandry from them. Even most marine biologists won't do any husbandry. Oh, right, okay. I had to go in this building, self-taught. It's amazing how any sort of academic, like any branch of academia, there's so much you have to teach yourself, isn't there? To kind of like there's stuff that you don't get taught on a course that you have to go and teach yourself. I do have some training now to work at the uni aquarium. We've got, at the University of Liverpool, they had random aquariums round and they were biotopes. There was one for some bizarre reason, we used to have to go to a lecture at the engineering. I think what it was is the guy had gone from the school of, it was based in the neuroscience department, but he was doing something with engineering with the VR stuff. So we had to go to his lecture in the engineering building. They had loads of biotope tanks in the engineering building. There was something to do with aquariums. I can't remember what it was, but there was like little plaques explaining the aquariums and where they were from and what they were about. But I wish I'd have done marine biology now and studied like symbiotic relationships. Because as I say, the Watchman goby and pistol shrimp, that relationship absolutely fascinates me. It fascinates me that I've heard the shrimp's blind, so it keeps its antennae on the fish, and the fish keeps a watch out. And they live in a cave together. So I think I'd love to trot off if I could and go and study fish with symbiotic relationships with other things. I think engineers quite close connections to behaviour stuff now. It's related to machine learning or robotics. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. There was a lot of lads who came over, PhD students, who'd be kind of between the clinical neuroscience department and engineering. But the University of Liverpool was quite big on animal behaviour a while ago. Whoa, these front hoses are having a good old scuffle at the moment. I hate that glare though. I'm looking forward to breeding these out. Wow guys, I've been going for 2.5 hours. I thought it the last time I looked I was on I was 50 minutes. I think it was. See, that's what I enjoy about these lives. Come on, and obviously like there's people in the background and there's people are listening while they're working away and doing fish tank maintenance and stuff, and so I get to chat away and talk to people who, when I'm working, when I'm busy, I don't really get that shit. Like I find I'm really pushed for time, and I feel like my long form content to put out isn't as good as it would be if maybe I had a bit more time to spare time to commit to it. I know a few of the lads with channels similar size to mine, they spend a lot more time editing stuff on the lunch time for a lot of people who are at work as well. Yeah, I find with my fish keeping, I find I kind of get up, do my little morning routine, and then after that, I want to go and check on my fish, and I think like while I'm off on my annual leave from work, it's nice to be able to come out here, relax, and just hit record and chat to everyone I don't normally get the chance to catch up with. And it's funny because you learn different people. Well, what I've definitely learned this week is people have different relationships with your channel to what you assume they'd have if you wasn't so on the button with your channel, if that makes sense. But then live streaming appeals to some people and long form content appeals to others. I know, hey, I sold 8 guppies and 7 corals since you are streaming. Looking at the timer, I'm not surprised. Hopefully I've had a sub or two while I'm streaming. Since I've hit 1k, I'm kind of like, it's not about the quality, the quantity of the sub, but the quality now for me. I think I'd rather have an active community rather than a massive community, because I find some channels have like massive subscription counts, but then they get hardly any comments on the video. And I noticed on my videos I got a ton more likes and comments but a lot less views, and so hopefully that kind of works out to a similar watch time. I like my small fish YouTubers. I do, you know, I had a, going off on a bit of a tangent, but I had a Facebook group, and I found once it got to about 1,000 members it was active, and then it kind of grew to, as it grew to about 5,000, it was great because you tended to know who everyone was, and but it was big enough to be active, but it was small enough so you could knew who people were and you could respond to them. But then I found once it got to 5,000, then all of a sudden it was 10,000, then it was 20,000, it was 60,000, and just couldn't keep up with it. And then it was just all modification notifications. You were just constantly working on the forum, not in the forum, in the group. It was just, and that's what I want to do with my channel, is kind of focus on building rapport with people and friendships and sharing my experience and my hobby with people and learning off their experience with their hobby. Because like I always say, I feel like there's people today buying a fish tank who are going to experience fish with their first fish that we probably never experienced. So just because they're on their first tank, it doesn't mean they haven't learned something that we might never have experienced, because it's all experiential learning. Groups can randomly grow as well. There was one, the other admins, and I totally forgot about, and then suddenly I had loads of people up here. Yeah. Well, there's a wall stack group, excuse me. There's a wall stack group on Facebook, and when I joined it in about 2017 maybe, and I think it had about 200 to 500 members at the time, but they were all really knowledgeable people, and I learnt a lot off them, and he helped me set up my first tanks, proper tanks, and stuff, told me what type of plants to buy for it, and they were really knowledgeable. And then I kind of made the wall start hack video. It was like my first serious wall start video for my channel, and it kind of drew me back to the group, and I started chatting, and then all of a sudden I realised that but I started posting on the group, and the group exploded because of the activity in there. I was writing articles, like small articles, explaining certain parts of the method to people, but then everyone started telling me I needed 2 inches of sand, and I needed to add fertilisers to me soil, and I needed to use compost, otherwise the plants, and all that stuff. But it just like the channel exploded with growth while I was there, because I was sharing all this stuff, and I feel like my activity like snowballed into other people becoming active. I can predict that group has changed a lot since a certain YouTube. Yeah, and do you know what, Rebecca? You know what the worst part about it is, right? Us Brits, we like a bit of irony, don't we? We like a bit of play on words. So to say you've got a method and your method is do nothing is an oxymoron, which I think the English can really appreciate, or the British can really appreciate that. But yeah, everything. So I read the book and studied it all, and then like I appreciate the science behind it. So like I'm like, so this is what the science says, and then I got told what I'm doing is wrong, and I'm like, well, what you're saying is, it's like saying that, oh, I practice physics, but I don't listen to Newton. I don't practice Newton, and it's like, no, but them laws are just there, like they're just observations. They describe things, and they always will, and that's kind of how I look at it. So they're like, well, I don't practice, so I'm like, so I don't know how to deal with people telling me that, and then telling me I'm doing stuff. I've read the book, even if there's an older copy, free access. Yeah, if I'm completely honest, I ended up reading the 3rd edition, maybe about 5 years ago, through a PFD, PDF even, PFD. PDF I found online. I read it. Was it through Kindle maybe? I can't remember. But I read it, and then I was like trying to tell, like, and then everyone tells me, no, what you're saying is wrong, and I don't know how to define to people, how can I be telling you what's wrong when all I'm trying to do is talk about what the science says. Edition, I have the PDF of maybe the 3rd edition, the 4th edition. Most of the 4th edition is about the research on the carbon uptake of plants from like KH and stuff like that, which I find really interesting. Like some aquatic plants can absorb carbon from KH and stuff. I was told as a kid when I wanted a new fish, I should get a book first. Yeah. Well, I got really shouted at on a certain. So I've got 2 things to say. So I just want to finish off on what I was saying about wall start method. So that's the thing I've found hard to articulate to people when people are telling me I'm wrong and I should be doing it a different way, and I'm trying to express the fact that I'm not talking about methods, I'm talking about what science says the underpinnings are of you know, these type of aquariums. So that's all I'm trying to talk about. So how can I be wrong when I'm trying to explain the science, but you're telling me that someone else is right, even though that when they do a critique video, they explain the process is wrong, and then say they've come up with the adaptations that the book says cause problems with the, you know, so you're like, well, and there's papers there saying, so if you do this, these things will happen. For example, like if you add sulfates, you'll create hydrogen sulfide in a low oxygen environment. So I don't know how to explain these people that it's wrong, but yeah. But another thing I got shouted about was there was an Aquashella video, and there was a big YouTuber talking, going on to what you were saying about books, and this big YouTuber was like, some people aren't reading the papers or understanding them. I've seen papers shared that disagree. See, well, I'm happy having that debate where someone come along to me and say, well, this paper says this, what do you think about it? And I don't mind, like, I knew enough about it to say, okay, that's wrong. AD is not the source of nutrients for the real. If the person read the abstract. See, I don't think. Yeah, that for me, talking about leaves as a source of nutrients, I don't think there'd be much of any sort of nutrients in anything like a dead leaf. Like, yeah. Right, so I've been going 2.5 hours, but that's what I was going to say before I go to Rainer. It is Rainer, isn't it? Like, I always get everyone's name confused because you changed your name, didn't you? Hey, I read Tad seahorses are hard to keep. Maybe for wild caught, but mine are a bit like guppies. I'm rather easy, but I'm just a gardener. My argument's always been every fish is easy to keep if you understand how to keep them properly and you're providing the right environment for them. Like, Godoggy discus are easy to keep if you're providing them with the right type of environment, whereas goldfish would be hard to keep if you're providing them with the wrong environment. So, but yeah, I was watching an Aquashella video. You change, yeah, and there was another person who popped up similar time to you that on like my content. So yeah, I think that's what I was like talking about books and stuff. You saying there about people saying about keeping books and reading books. One thing that stood out to me was I was watching an Aquashella thing, and they said they were being paid by Aquashella to give a talk, and they said in the early 2000s there was no information available on fish keeping, so we had to make it up ourselves, and that was their Aquashella talk. So straight away I was like, Takashi Amano's book was out then, Diana Wallstad's book was out then, there was like 4 doctors who wrote a cracking book on goldfish I still own to this day. So many of the most famous books in the hobby were already out. And I was like, you can't say that on a talk you're paid for. You just can't stand on a stage where people are paying to listen to your talk and tell them that there was no research available in the early 2000s, there was no information available. I was like, that's just, how can you have the brass neck to do that? I don't know, to be honest, Rebecca, but so many of the big books were already out then that people still reference to this day. I was like, if you were saying that on your own YouTube channel, okay, I'd mind my own business. But if you're standing on a stage where people are paying to listen to you talk, and the venue is paying for you to talk, I'm going to have to say that's just wrong. Like, you obviously haven't prepared your presentation, and all you wanted to talk about was yourself and how great you were because you discovered all these techniques by yourself without researching any of it. I think there's a lot of YouTubers who found research. There's certain YouTubers who were practicing, were practicing the Wallstad method years before the book was written, which I'd like to know how they did that. Right, guys, I'm going to make a shift. That's 2.5 hours of me chatting away. Jeffro, what's going on today, bud? What you got? I just came on, I didn't press record, pressed live, and every time I start thinking, right, I'll wrap it up, someone pops in and I'm like, PFK has been around for over 40 years at least. Has it? I don't know how long it's practical, but that's been around a long time. But I just feel like there was a lot more information available because, right guys, I'm going to make a shift. I might come on tomorrow if I get the chance, and then that's my last day of being able to go live, and then it's back to reality, and I'll be in working unsociable hours, and I won't be able to get on as often as I'd like, and then my lives will go back to evenings, which don't really fit around my routine. I could happily sit here and chat away to everyone. See ya. As in see. Right guys, take care. I'll catch you all later. Get your sleeves wet.